What is going on, Houston? This is Jet Boyer here on Athletically Declined. We want to give a special shout out to our sponsors of the stream, our boys at Sold Out here in League City, Texas. Also, we want to give a special shout out to the best gym in the Friendswood, League City area, The Sanctuary. If you guys are looking to achieve your fitness goals this year, look no further than The Sanctuary. Also, special shout out to Throat Apparel, Tilt. Guys, fit us out. They have got the best shirts here in the local Houston area. You guys want to check them out. All the links are on our website at hlx.com/athletically declined. Appreciate you guys. This is Athletically Declined on ESPN 97.5. What's up, guys? Jet. Spencer Roland Nolan. Here we are. And man, the tears of Texans fans everywhere. Let's just get into it, man. Because I mean, I got nothing to say about my team. They got their teeth beat in, but man, I didn't see that one coming.
It's interesting. If you had told me Sunday morning that the Texans were going to lose by 3 points to the Lions, I would have said, sign me up. That sounds great. I'm not someone that is fully believing moral victories, but again, like with how the Texans had played recently and how they went into that game, everyone was thinking it was a blowout. So if you had told me they're only going to lose by 3 points, I would have felt like, okay, they looked good, competitive. You just lost a close game. When you lose by 3 in the fashion that they did, where you have the best half of football they played all season, followed up by blowing a 19-point lead, 19-point unanswered to end the game, 0 points in the second half. There's no other blame to assign than the offensive side of the ball. I really felt bad for the defense. Thought they played very, very well. I know the Lions put together some good possessions there at the end of the game in the second half, but that's the Detroit Lions. You can't expect the Texans defense to play perfect. What you can expect the Texans offense to do is to not put up a goose egg in the second half, which they did. That's unacceptable.
I mean, I'm not one, as you know, I've actually been on the opposite side of this, of hitting the red button on Bobby Slowick. But dude, Bobby Slowick is not helping himself.
No.
Not at all. I mean, obviously, like, you got problems with the offensive line, sure. But also, too, CJ is not helping matters. And then on top of that, like, yes, we've seen him make some clutch kicks, like, this year. But, dude, I mean, notably the Bills kick, right? But Kymie Fairbairn, you can't miss these things, man.
Well, I didn't really have a problem with him missing 58 yards? That's a tough kick. Now, the one against the Jets was the one that really pissed me off, the 25-yard or whatever that was. That was bad. I'm not too upset with Fairbairn missing that yesterday. Again, I don't look to assign blame any farther than the offensive side of the ball.
And I understand that, but I guess like you look at it as like Kymie Fairbairn is like again, it's not just Texans fan. Like across the league, he's looked at as a top 5 kicker in the league.
Yeah, his contract says so.
And so to me, like the Lions picked their kicker up off the streets and is making everything 12 for 12 since he's been there.
Yeah, but they were talking about that on the broadcast that they just now last night were at a point where they felt like he was at a point where they felt comfortable kicking those long ones. So we'll see how that goes forward for them.
So, I mean, in a game like that, when you did, again, like you yourself saying, like, I didn't think that it was going to, sign me up if it was going to lose 3 points, like it was competitive. That's why you get paid big money. And I'm not saying that like Kymie Fairbairn's horrible for missing it, but like those are the kicks that make your career.
Yeah, sure. I guess I don't want to hear anything about the special teams, to be honest with you, Tyler. To me, you look at the offense, period. That's where the problem was yesterday. I don't care about special teams, honestly. I mean, Fairbairn will be Fairbairn. That's fine. The offense has problems with Bobby Slowick. And you mentioned it. It's time we stop letting C.J. Stroud take a pass. He can't get a pass anymore. Both those interceptions were on him. And the one at the goal line that was wide open Tank Dell that he underthrew very badly, if he makes that throw, which we've seen him make time and time again in his 2 years, the Texans win that game. That was a big swing because the Lions marched down the field after that and scored again. To me, if they make that play, we're having a different conversation right now. And that's what sucks is that there was so much hope from that first half that I felt like they finally figured some things out. And then second half wiped it all away, and we're right back having the same conversations every single week about this offense under Bobby Slowick.
Yeah, and it feels like a lot of these games, right? Like last year, you were in games and you were coming back and winning games that, the expectation wasn't the same. And it was like, oh, this is great. But now it seems this year, you're barely winning games you should be, expectation-wise, blowing those teams out. And then games like this, I mean, you're putting yourself in that position, right? One thing I will say on Detroit's side, like Aaron Glenn's going to be getting some head coaching opportunities.
Ben Johnson as well. Both those coordinators are gone.
Those guys killing it. And, like Brian Johnson, like I'm not going to Ben Johnson, I'm not going to be looking at him as much as Dan Campbell, is the reason why, he was under good leadership. We knew what Ben Johnson was. We knew when he left the Eagles what he was and what we expected. Aaron Glenn, although he's been making a name throughout the league, he has flourished under Dan Campbell's leadership. And again, I think Dan Campbell doesn't get enough credit for just being the loudmouth, bite your kneecaps type of coach, motivator. He's put together a pretty damn good personnel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see, like we said, those coordinators are both gone in the offseason, most likely. It's going to be interesting how they replace those guys. But I think it's interesting. Did you see that Schefter notification before the game?
No.
So he was talking about Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is going to get a head coaching job this offseason, and he is going to be very selective about what team he goes to. Basically, every team that's going to have an opening is going to offer it to him, but he's not going to take more than 2 to 3 interviews. That's what Schefter's saying. He already knows he is next up in the head coaching ranks in the NFL. Runs a good offense. It's a good unit.
So this is some of the moments in this game where I looked at it and I was just like, dude, what are you doing? There was a penalty play. I can't remember. I think it was in the second half, obviously. And I believe it was 2nd and 20. You remember what I'm talking about? You run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you're 3rd and 20, whatever. You don't just run the ball. You run the ball with a shotgun. What are we do? I mean, to me, I'm not any type of an offensive coordinator, but from my Madden knowledge, right? You would think, oh, you're 2nd and 20. That's a perfect time to either take a shot or run a screenplay. And then it's 3rd and 20, run a screenplay. Do something. You can't continue. You ran Joe Mixon 26 times for 46 yards.
Yeah, Joe Mixon it wasn't really his fault. He was running into stacked fronts all night long.
I mean, in a testament to, again, back to Detroit, they're banged up on that line as well and still dominating.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, going back to us talking about CJ Stroud's play. I thought the protection for most of the night was pretty good last night.
Went bad.
The offensive line change with Jarrett Patterson now being your starting center, moving Scruggs to left guard. That change seemed to work, especially in the first half when they were driving down the field constantly. The offense seemed to be clicking. I thought, wow, we figured out our offensive line woes. Again, it was such a tale of two halves, right? And this is how the Texans franchise has done it. We talked a few episodes back about how the Texans in 2019-2020 playoffs had their best quarter of the entire franchise history and then blew 51 unanswered to the Chiefs. We all remember that game. Last night was like a mini version of that game to me. It gave very much same energy.
I asked you that question, actually.
Dude, the first half was spectacular. 23-7 at the half. Man, you're feeling spectacular. And a game, again, that we all kind of expected the Texans to get blown out in.
Yeah.
You came out and you're holding your own. Not only holding your own, you're dominating who had been the best team in the NFL outside of the Chiefs. And then you follow that up with what was a just disgusting display of football in the second half, one of the worst outings I've seen from this Texans team. You know, I'll say this. That was the worst half of football by the Texans under CJ Stroud we've seen.
And not to mention, you lose this game while picking off Jared Goff five times. Did you see the stat when he's being picked off?
He'd only thrown 4 interceptions going into last night, and then threw 5 in one game.
But there's a stat like where he throws like over 2 interceptions, something like that, and he's 6-0 in those games.
Jared Goff?
Yeah, it was actually shut out. Oh my gosh. I think it's Football Fanatics FF. But yeah, they put that stat out there, which is crazy to me. But I mean, something has to give. There's too much riding on this team at this point. Nick Casero's done his job. He has done his job.
Well, you say that, but I think
let me rephrase that. He's done his job in making the moves you want your GM to make to help your team be as competitive as possible.
Sure.
Has he drafted always well? You make that call.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is I don't think he addressed the offensive line as much as he needed to. And obviously, we just talked about the offensive line really wasn't the biggest issue last night. But I would have liked to see Nick Caserio prioritize the offensive line a little bit more. For me, I just keep coming back to the play calling of Bobby Slowick. You start talking about the 2nd and 30 running the ball a bunch. Like, that's the fact that you mentioned, like, your knowledge is Madden. Same. That's what most of football fans' knowledge is, playing Madden, our time in high school football, junior high football, whatever. Yeah. That's most fans' extent of football knowledge, and we all can acknowledge that. But that's the problem whenever we all are in agreement that the play calling is bad and situationally doesn't make any sense.
No.
And they continue to do stupid things. It's like they overthink things. It's like they want to get away from the basics because they try to be too cute. They try to figure things out. Like Bobby Slowick is obsessed with doing these reverse plays that don't go anywhere. He tried another one last night and Tank Dell ended up losing like 6 yards. We are not capable of doing screen or wide receiver reverse type passes, or like the Texans need to stop trying that. I've seen it happen so many times this season. It doesn't work in this offense. Bobby Slowick doesn't know how to draw it up.
You're not Navy.
Come on, really, not Navy, not the Detroit Lions. I kind of felt like that's why he did that last night. He's trying to get cute. He's like, oh, Ben Johnson on the other side calling plays. I'm going to show him I can do some cool reverses also, and his don't work like Ben Johnson's work.
No, another thing too, I say begs the question. I'm going to say it solidifies it more. Nico Collins is missed that much.
Yeah.
He is the engine. When he is not there, this offense is, and I'm not even talking about Diggs, not even putting him in there. When Nico Collins is not on the field, this team looks dramatically different.
Absolutely. And I don't like whenever my team has to rely on one player like that. That's not good winning formula. But it does give me a little bit of optimism to look forward to when this Texans team gets Nico Collins back, which I do think will be on Monday night against Dallas. As soon as he comes back, this offense is going to take a big step forward.
Sure.
But the problem is, again, I don't like relying on one player like that because health is so fickle in the NFL. One bad injury goes wrong and you're back in the same situation you're in now. So Nico Collins will make a difference. In fact, the Texans haven't scored a second half touchdown in 5 weeks since the last time Nico Collins played a full game. That was the last time the Texans have scored a second half touchdown. So I do think he's going to make an impact on the offense.
And it also begs the question,
obviously,
what was the difference last year with being able to get Tank as involved as they did? Like, what changed? It felt like last year, like anytime that Tank Dell looked like a superstar last year before he got injured.
Yeah.
And it's like, what changed? Like, is this a Tank Dell change? Is this a Bobby Slowick change? We've talked about it earlier in the year on multiple shows. Is it because they've got so many mouths to feed? They've rearranged some of but you got to think that Bobby Slowick, being the offensive mind, can go back and go, well, we did this when it was just Tank. We'll run this again.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
The complete absence of Tank Dell this year has been a big,
unless he's in a reverse.
Yeah, fair. That's right. And then he'll lose 4 yards on the play.
He's not Deebo Samuel.
It doesn't make sense how they have regressed so much in figuring out how to use their players. Because you're right. They nailed how to use him last year. This year, I don't know what's missing. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is, and this isn't a good reason at all, but it's just maybe the fact that we have an established run game now that we can lean on. I think Bobby Slowick has made it clear to us that he prefers to run the football, that last year he was only airing it out as much as he was because of the absence. When you have Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce as your top two guys, you don't have a Joe Mixon. You rely more on the air game there. Maybe that's why he's being so stubborn with the run game this year, running it in situations where it doesn't make sense, and that trickles down into the rest of the offense, perhaps. Either way, it's inexcusable. We got to get Tank Dell involved more. Hopefully, whenever Nico Collins comes back, we start to see, more opportunity for Tank Dell to get some single coverage.
Do you feel like that this team needs another running back to lean on other than Mixon?
I don't.
It's kind of been
Pierce was out last night.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Is this has kind of been like the new thing, like in the NFL, is you don't just have one good back. You've got a real, like a stud, and then you got another good back. And it seems most of the teams that are doing well, look at the Chiefs, look at Detroit. I mean, you can look at the Saints, look at the Jets. I mean, a lot of these teams have more than one option. Do you feel like that hinders the Texans at all?
Maybe to an extent. I mean, again, Dameon Pierce being out last night, definitely.
But is that, but do you consider him a good, like, is he
I consider as a backup, yes. As your RB2, sure. I don't think, obviously I'm not building my franchise around him, but as an RB2, yeah, I mean, he's shown some flashes this year when he's been healthy. So that's not really, again, like there's these little ancillary things that we can pick on and like try to isolate, maybe try to find some reasoning there. To me, it's simple. I just come back to two people. I look at Bobby Slowick. That's been the problem. And then last night specifically, I look at the play of CJ Stroud. He had one of his worst games of the season.
And I don't necessarily think it's like being anecdotal with it, right? I think that when you're in this position, you do have to kind of pick apart, right? Like it's the time where you're not doing it right because they're winning. But when they have these things, it's like, okay, what could help? What could do these things? Again,
I just don't see the value there. I don't see what a backup running back would do to help this team last night. It's bad play from the quarterback and bad play calling. And that's been a problem all season for this Texans team. And it's why a lot of Texans fans look themselves in the mirror this morning and wonder if we're actually contenders.
I think they're pretenders. I'm just going to say it. Unfortunately, because
I think the jury's still out. I think we have some tough games. And because of the health up to this point,
you're going to make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to make the playoffs.
I get that. I think the jury's still out. I do think I want to see how they play down the stretch against some of these tougher teams at full strength.
Get a bye.
Yeah, get the bye in there, get healthy, and let's see what happens. There is some reason to have some optimism still. Again, CJ Stroud play last night was bad, but this was really the first game in this stretch of bad play that I genuinely think CJ played bad. I think before that, a lot of times there was receivers dropping passes. Bobby Slowick's never been one to help CJ Stroud throughout his career, so that's played against him. Last night, though, there's just genuinely too many plays that CJ Stroud didn't make that you can look at and say, that is why we lost. You haven't had that all season until last night.
Do you feel like last night CJ held the ball a little longer than he normally does?
He held the ball too long at times.
I noticed that.
Again, that's what I was saying. Like, the protection was fine. And that exposed some times where he was holding on to the ball too long. He just was inaccurate at times too. And I say all that, he was still flashing the same CJ Stroud accuracy that we've seen time and time again. John Mechie was a great bright spot last night. Great to see him get in the end zone after what he's gone through in his career to start. So that was cool. That would be really, really great if John Mechie could emerge as a reliable option behind Nico Collins, behind Tank Dell. That would be great for this offense. So, again, like I said at the beginning, I don't take moral victories, and I especially don't take moral victories in games where you had them on the ropes. You could have won, but there were some bright spots that you can look at to look forward, to have some hope.
You are very optimistic, at least.
Not really, no. What the hell have I said to make you seem I'm optimistic about this team?
Well, I mean, you're saying there's things to look forward to, man.
I think John Mechie can play well, but I don't feel good about this Texans team at all. I want to see John Mechie continue to play well because I think he's a cool story. But as far as that helping the Texans win, I don't know about that. I don't feel good about this Texans team today at all.
Do you feel like looking back that Nick, like at the end of the season, things continue this direction, or maybe just looking at it now, maybe Nick Caserio's thinking, yeah, maybe we should have made a move for at least some type of depth on the O-line?
No, I mean, we were talking about with Ruben and at the watch along. Just realistically, yeah, I mean, no one trades offensive linemen at the deadline. The Cam Robinson trade blew my mind because
that was random.
That was very random, and it was crazy. Did you see him get into it on the sidelines with the Jaguars?
No.
Yeah, there was some extracurriculars after the play between the Vikings and the Jaguars at some point in the game, and Cam Robinson was in the mixing it up with his former teammates. It was like, oh wow, he was happy to get out of Jacksonville. That's another topic for another day. But speaking of the Jags, again, it continues to help that when the Texans have these heartbreaking losses, you look at the rest of the division, and they all lost on Sunday as well. So you're right. The Texans will win the division. They'll get in the playoffs. What are you going to do from there? A lot of things need to get fixed before you can start thinking about them making their first ever AFC championship in franchise history.
You know, it's funny because, like, and I'm going to pick on the Chiefs a little bit just because I'll be that person. There's some similarities, like, I feel like, where the Texans have gotten into those games where it's like you could have won some of these and you didn't, type of deal, or you lost to somebody you shouldn't. And it feels like that those situations have kind of been going on for the Chiefs, except they have Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And they win and they end up sneaking by. Like, there was no business of them winning that Denver Bronco game, bro. They should have gotten embarrassed and they didn't. And I just continue to look at that and scratch my head and be like, how much longer can you continue to do this? Like, but again, like, a win's a win. Like, I mean, you're 9-0. I mean,
and that was a clean block. You can't be mad about it.
No, you can't.
This isn't, and everyone always makes the joke, and I get it. I'll always make the joke also, but this was not an NFL's rigged moment. The Broncos should have won that game, and they got another kick block. This has happened to that team before this season. So,
but Sean Payton, you're God's gift to football, bro. You're so good at football.
Yeah, there was something I was kind of relieved that Sean Payton didn't get up there with his, stupid smirk and his dumb face and be the one guy to beat the Chiefs this season. I was glad that was not him.
Yeah, I really, again, and you know my feeling on this, I really wish that it was Baker. God, I wanted them to win that game so bad.
Dude, at this point, I think the team that's going to beat them is going to be the freaking Panthers in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
there's
probably.
No one else that can beat them. It's going to be the one team that no one picks them to lose to.
She was just going to just run all over him. Like,
yeah, the Bryce Young renaissance is going to be electric in a couple weeks.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it's at. I don't think,
bad vibes in Houston. Bad vibes on Kirby.
It's my Jets didn't do much better, as I said. So everybody's in turmoil. It doesn't seem, unless you're a Chiefs fan, you're rooting.
Well, and the Lions must feel good too. They continue to just gritty wins.
Yeah,
like that's
like kneecaps, baby.
Yeah, that's the Dan Campbell way, man.
Do you feel like that Jared Goff ruined his MVP campaign in that game?
Oh yeah, I honestly I didn't think there was much of one to begin with because of his numbers really haven't been that great. I mean, his completion percentage has been amazing,
is insane,
but the sheer yardage really hasn't been there. And that's obviously besides last year with Lamar Jackson, that's obviously historically something that they take into account. I don't know who the MVP right now is. I think Lamar Jackson has a good case for it right now.
Derrick
too.
Henry could, man.
Patrick Mahomes could mess around and go undefeated and win it again. I have a future on him. He was my pick before the season.
Yeah, I would like to see Patrick Mahomes because I feel like that's one thing, right? Like, what was it? Brady and Manning, like they would always be like one of them has like one's got the rings and the awards and the other one's got the records, which obviously, I mean, Brady's got his own records, but it's good to see Mahomes getting all of it. Like, you look at him and there's the rings, there's the records, there's the awards. It's like, what else do you have to prove?
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of your career, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be real funny. Okay, then right now, as we sit, is Bobby Sloat going to be your OC next year?
No.
He'll be gone?
Next year, he'll be gone.
Do you think that he'll get any head coaching opportunities? That's what's going to be interesting to me.
Man,
weird things happen.
No, it's tough to predict right now because he was very highly touted before the season. And maybe there's still some teams that can justify what they've seen this year play calling wise. People forget Bobby Slowick, this is only his second year calling plays. He was not a play caller going into last year. He only has 1 year of that under his belt. So I don't know what other teams will think. I mean, I think he does deserve some credit with developing some of these guys. I think he deserves a little bit of credit with the development of CJ Stroud. Although I think for me, a lot of this season has told the story that CJ Stroud maybe made Bobby Slowick look a little better than maybe we thought.
Yeah.
But I do think Bobby Slowick will be gone because Cal McNair, what we've seen him over the last couple years, he's gotten away from this Tommy boy persona that we all kind of labeled him as. And I think he is more involved now in a healthy way, not a Jerry Jones way. And I think he is going to see the state of this offense and he's going to make Coach D'Amico. He wants to win. He knows that's going to be where we need to have change.
Well, you're going to have plenty to pick from. I mean, what's going to be funny to me is see like how many opportunities some of these college coordinators.
The next offensive coordinator is in house already. I love our quarterbacks coach Gerard Johnson. I don't think he's a Bobby Slowick like disciple. I think he's probably got some different offensive mentalities and probably his playbook's gonna be a little different. That's who I want to see be the OC. That's why I would love to see like we saw the Bills last year fire their offensive coordinator in the middle of the season and immediately see that offense get better. I would love to see the Texans do the same thing. Fire Slowick this season. I don't think we're going to see it. Obviously, we would have seen the news by now. Right. I don't think we'll see it this season. I would love to see that because I think Gerard Johnson can come in and give this offense a boost immediately. We've seen teams replace their coordinators in the middle of the season and have better success.
Yeah, no, 100%. Guys, also too, want to make sure you know we will be at Chicken Pickle in Webster this Saturday doing a watch party for the UFC. I think that was UFC 309, 310.
It's the John Jones fight.
John Jones fight. Doing it for the John Jones fight. Chicken Pickle will start at 7:00 p.m. Central Time. You guys want to make sure you show up. If not, we'll be live on the AD channels. Y'all want to do that, come hang out. Gonna have some prime seating, and well, I think we're gonna have a pickleball court as well. So y'all come check it out, hang out with us, watch the game. It's gonna be really cool.
It's gonna be a good time.
As always, guys, we are live here at the AD studio in Sold Out. You guys can find Sold Out here off of 2800 West Main Street in League City, Texas, 77573. And you can find it on the website at Sold Out, SOLED8FTX.com. So yeah, guys. Well, there's a lot going on in the NFL, and again, we've kind of not been talking a lot of NFL here lately, but got to talk about it today, man.
NFL is king forever,
and it is on everyone's mind. But hope you guys enjoy this episode. Hope you guys enjoy the NFL when you guys are seeing this. Will be on Thursday. So hope y'all enjoy Thursday night football. Hope y'all enjoy y'all's weekend of college and NFL, guys. Jet, Spencer Roland Nolan, Athletically Declined on ESPN 97.5.
Y'all take it easy.
You made it till the end of the video. We appreciate you continuing to support us by showing your love and watching the video. If you haven't, please make sure you like the video below so that we know that we did a good job. And if we didn't, there's a comment section for a reason. Let us know what you didn't like, or if you have some suggestions. We are always open to listening to you guys because we are by the fans for the fans. And if you would please do us a favor and go to our YouTube channel at Athletically Declined Sports and hit us a subscribe. You guys can check out all the shows that we have going on during the week. Appreciate you guys. We'll see y'all in the next video.